All right, what can ZeoCharge help detox from your body, right? And the key to understanding this is we're not just looking at direct binding affinity of specific toxicants, because ZeoCharge can actually help detox things that it potentially doesn't even bind to, which is interesting, right? So we have to understand the main mechanism of detox with ZeoCharge is through binding, right? It's detox through binding. So it's binding various toxic elements that are free floating, that are loose in the body, that the body's currently working on. And then the body will start releasing deeply stored toxic elements as it has increased detox energy, right? So the direct binding capacity is one aspect. So that's the binding aspect. It's going in and binding to a lot of different things. So that includes heavy metals, various environmental toxins, BPA, glyphosate, radioactive materials, mycotoxins, lots of different things, and then metabolic waste products as well. That's a big one, right? So some of the toxic waste products that your own body is producing, and those are really regenerative toxins because your body's making these new every single day, and the ZeoCharge is going in and helping assisting your body with clearing these things, right? And especially if your liver's not working, your kidneys, or maybe your body's just not working as well as it's going to be, then just binding to some of these things can be very helpful because your body might have trouble processing these things, right? So we're talking about ammonia, urea, excess histamine, right? So things like this. So there's a very broad spectrum binding capacity of ZeoCharge to directly bind to things, and that's the binding, right? So it goes in, it binds to all these things, and then the body has a certain amount of energy that it's able to, like processing power, if you will, right? It has a certain amount of processing power that it has for all of its projects. So when you go in with ZeoCharge and you bind to a lot of these toxic elements, you've basically freed up more processing power because you've reduced that toxic burden, and so the body now has more energy to focus on other projects, right? And that's where it can start working on some of these deeply stored toxic elements that are stored in tissue and organs, whatever those things might be, right? So understanding kind of how the body is working and how it's really designed for short-term survival over long-term thrival, and so that's kind of the priority of the body. So when you're exposed to a toxic element, initially your body, it has a response to it. It tries to get out as much of this, let's say mercury, right? You're exposed to mercury. Your body wants to get out as much of it as possible. And it's stressful when you're first exposed because you have an increased immune response, and then there's a lot of inflammation that can occur and a lot of detox stress because your body's trying to clear this poison from your body. So whatever your body cannot clear, then it tucks into tissue because if it's too stressful, the body can't, if it can't handle that load and it can't get it all out quick enough, it'll tuck some into tissue, right? So now you have mercury stored in tissue. And then over time, you can build up toxicities because more and more and more stuff comes in. And if you can't handle it as it's coming in, the body has to do something with it. It has to put it out of its processing center and put it in to storage, which is going to be tissue, whether it's general tissue, whether it's organs, right? So the challenge is a lot of people, it just gets stuck there and the body just ends up not processing it because it's toxic on the way in. And then the body says, okay, let's put this into storage because it kind of deactivates the toxicity, right? It's not being processed anymore. It's to some extent hidden from the immune system. So it's not causing as many immediate issues, although it could still be causing long-term, definitely some serious issues, especially depending on where it's at. So when that is released from tissue and then it's mobilized, now the body has to process it again. It's like you were just exposed to it, right, for the first time. Now your body goes back into detox mode. It has to respond and results in the inflammatory reaction and all this other stuff, right? So this is why a lot of times the body just keeps the mercury and these toxic elements in tissue because it doesn't want to deal with the stress of the removal, right? So that's really the key. And it just depends on the person. So the people that end up with more complex health issues and have more going on, generally they end up with higher levels of accumulated toxicity because their body doesn't have enough energy to process it when it's coming in, and it keeps tucking into tissue and it keeps getting stuck there because the body never has energy to go after those things, right? So, and this is one of the challenges with traditional detox, because in these situations, if you go in and you try to just mobilize this mercury from tissue, now you've added toxicity to the processing center that was already at full capacity and you couldn't handle it, and then you might experience terrible detox reactions and maybe there's some redistribution because your body just can't handle it, right? So with ZeoCharge, what's happening is you're going in, you're binding to all these other things, right? Now we're not even going in and binding to this mercury that's in organs. We're binding to the stuff that's free floating, right? The stuff that your daily dose toxicity, right? So that's the stuff that just came in from external exposure, and also your internal production of toxicity. Plus, maybe there is a little bit of toxicity that the body was releasing from tissue on a daily basis. So it's binding to all of this stuff, or whatever's in the body's processing center, right? The metabolic waste products, the mycotoxins, heavy metals, all this other stuff. And then with an effective binding protocol like ZeoCharge, as it binds to these things, then the body says, now there's room to receive more. Let's let go of some of this mercury that we've been holding in tissue because we weren't able to get it out. Now we're able to get it out, so let's let go of it. Now that ends up in the processing center, and then it can be excreted. And then the ZeoCharge can bind it once it's there, right? So that's basically how it works. It's detox through binding. So it's an effective binder that's binding to a lot of different things that the body's working on. And then the body says, we're going to let go of more things. So that's where it can help detox things that potentially it doesn't even bind to, because let's say there's some strange chemical that hasn't been studied and we just don't really know much about. And there's all sorts of stuff we're exposed to. But let's just assume there's one chemical, chemical X, we'll just call it that ZeoCharge. Let's just say it doesn't bind to it. But let's say that's stored in your tissue. But just from binding to all this stuff that your body's currently working on, the ammonia, the metabolic waste products, the heavy metals, the circulating stuff, all the stuff your body's processing, and just calming things down, that increases your body's detox energy. So basically it frees up energy for your body to deal with other stuff. So then let's say the body says, okay, let's dump some of this toxin X from tissue and let's get it out of the body. So then it dumps it, then your body's able to excrete it through natural detox, right? So even if the zeolite didn't bind to it, it could still detox it. And now maybe that's a little bit stressful on the way out because it's not going to be bound by the ZeoCharge as it's leaving the body. So that's a possibility. But generally, because you've bound so much other stuff, your body has more energy to naturally go after it and safely excrete it, right? So that's kind of the key. ZeoCharge is working with the body's natural detox functions opposed to fighting against it. It's not going in and doing something the body doesn't want to do. It's encouraging detox, right? So by calming things down, by binding, by just increasing detox energy, the body then has energy to start raising detox on its own. Because as the body gets sicker and more complex with the illness and just more toxic in general, a lot of times the body will slow down its detox functions to lower the circulating amount of toxicity. So that could result in low lymph drain, decreased lymph flow. It could decreased bile flow. Just if the body has this too much toxicity on a daily basis and just can't handle it, it's going to start slowing down the release of toxicants from other stored areas because it just can't handle it, right? So just by binding to, just using ZeoCharge as a binder to bind to a lot of toxic elements, it can actually increase bile flow in a lot of people. It increases lymph drainage and increases all these things because as it's binding and reducing the stress load in the body and increasing detox energy, then the body starts speeding up detox because now it's able to handle a higher level of toxicity because it now has assistance. It's not doing all of the work on its own. It has ZeoCharge to help out as well. So basically that's how I see it working. It is a very broad spectrum binder, very unique. And of course it's a smart binder. It's selective. So it's, binding to a lot of toxic elements and it has the swap mechanism. So it's not, depleting essential nutrients as well directly, right? So it's exchanging the minerals that it has, the potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, for heavier elements, which are the more toxic elements like the heavy metals and environmental toxins and things. So it's a very unique binder, fantastic, and just binding to a lot of things directly, but then also helping your body detox whatever it wants to by increasing the body's detox energy and reducing the circulating toxic load.